Hi, kitty cats. I am Amethyst Herrick, your hostess for Gender Identity Weekly, a weekly discussion about identity and gender from the contributors and guests of the Purple Pop Publications website, genderidentitytoday.com. This content right here is brought to you by subscribers of genderidentitytoday.com. And if you are already a subscriber, thanks very much for your ongoing support. It means a lot to me. You also know that subscribers not only receive new content directly to their inboxes as soon as it publishes, but are also able to interact with every contributor directly. And that's me as well, which, who out there doesn't want to, interact with me? So if you would like to support shows just like this one, as well as the other podcasts, videos, and written articles by our contributors, I hope you'll consider subscribing using those links you're going to find down there in the show notes. All right, well, my guest today is John Diggs. Hi, John.
Hi, Gami.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, thank you. John is a Mappineering Mentor, and believe it or not, retired NFL and CFL player, which is pretty dang neat, I think. John developed something called Mappineering. So this is a mind mapping practice for self-discovery and personal development. And of course, I think you know very well, John, since I'm interested in self-discovery, that's a big topic for me. I saw recently you founded Mappineerville.com, so that's a community for Mappineers, which is kind of neat too. I'd love to start off with sort of the origin story, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Because Tony Buzan, hopefully I say that right,
Yep.
he developed the technique of mind map, or at least, elucidated the technique of mind mapping.
Yep.
But I'm interested, what happened in your life that pushed you to develop this new method of self-discovery?
Yeah. Yeah, great. I mean, great question. Yeah, well, just to kind of get back, and born and raised in Los Angeles, fell in love with football, like you said. I went to Washington State University, played some years of professional football before abruptly my career ending with the reconstruction of my right knee, which really was a challenging time for me at the time. Just that first love, and now having to reset myself. And luckily, I became a real estate agent while I was still playing football, so I kind of knew what I was going to do after football, and got into the mortgage business in Southern California, and went on to develop one of the top mortgage brokerages in all of Southern California. This was the early 2000s, and actually was making more money than I ever did as a professional football player, living the life of Riley. And I mean, the big houses, cars, and all of the great lifestyle, all the way up until the mortgage meltdown of 2007 that led to the Great Recession, which caused me to lose completely everything I ever had and loved. Meltdown. Not just my business, but houses, cars, my wife, kids. I mean, I lost everything. And I was forced to move back to my mother's house. And when I went back there, I went to my mom's house with just a few things, my bicycle, a gym bag full of gym clothes, and a big box that I had a lot of motivational books, DVDs and CDs that I've accumulated over the years. I knew I had to go back in that box to reset and rebuild my identity and myself. I mean, I was shook. It was very, very lowest part of my life for sure. And inside of that box was this book by Tony Buzan, the Mind Map book. I never bought the book. I think somebody must have given it to me, but for whatever reason, it resonated with me at this point. So I made one of the most important decisions, powerful decisions in my life, because I decided to mind map all of the contents that was in that box. I mean, books like Think and Grow Rich, Unlimited Power, As a Man Thinketh, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I mean, all day, every day, I just started mind mapping these books. And I started that was my first introduction to the power of mind mapping, because I realized that when I was reading the books before, some things would stand out to me and I would just highlight or underline certain things of that nature. But now when I was mind mapping, I was actually hunting and searching for keywords and short phrases to take out of those chapters and paragraphs to put on the mind map. Didn't know then, but it was actually called active learning, where I was actually engaged with material and started learning it more. And after spending about 3, 4 months of all day, every day doing that, I came up with two key concepts of seeing what all of these thought leaders of the day, in that box were basically sharing. And the first one was that the purpose of life is just really just to love life. I didn't really understand it at first, but when I started having all these poster boards around my mom's house, of all of these mind maps, I started to see the connections between what all of, Wayne Dyer, Tony Robbins, Stephen Covey, Napoleon Hill, all these guys were saying was ultimately the purpose of life is just really just to love it, just to love life. And they all had their different strategies and philosophies on how to do it. So I got that distinction. But then the second distinction I got was that I am in control of how I love my life, or what love and life
Wow.
means to me. So I started
Yeah.
really forging what I now call my I am mind map, where I started to get clear on who I am in this world more than I've ever had in my life, and what is most important to me in my life. And I spent another 3, 4 months of doing that, of really just grappling with what is truly John Diggs about, who is John Diggs, and what do I want my life to be about. And came up with this I am mind map where, it's just I am in the middle, and health, wealth, success, and happiness, and started really resonating with me in such that I ultimately landed a high paying 6 figure job within 8 months, from being homeless to now making this kind of money. But I know for a fact, Ami, that it was purely because of what mind mapping enabled me to do, as far as the clarity on just not just what my life meant, but who am I in this world.
Yeah. I've got to imagine. Do you still have all those poster boards from the original?
I sure wish my mom. Yeah, that was
Oh,
back in 2010, 2009. So
yeah.
yeah, I don't have those literal ones, but I have similar ones that I've made, book reviews that I do now and things of that.
Oh, sure. Because what a powerful, I mean, it's fascinating to me to think that not only did you distill wisdom from each of the books, you searched for connections among them, which is not typical, not typical. How do I want to put this? It's not typical thought patterns there's a better word for that I'm not coming up with, but I guess it's part of what mind mapping is intended to do, is find connections among things. So,
It is.
I mean,
One of
I
the
just gotta,
powers of
that's,
mind mapping is the fact that it enables you, and just for you and your listeners, a mind map simply
thank you.
said, is just a visual information management tool. So visual meaning that you can see a lot of information, and the management of it is that you can structure the information. And the way mind maps are built, it shows you connections between ideas and thoughts that you may have, which is very similar to how our minds work in connection.
Yeah.
Our thoughts, our memories all connect to other thoughts and memories. And so that's why they say mind mapping is so powerful for our brain, and to process information, because a mind map is very similar to how our brain functions anyway.
Yeah. It's, I agree with you. It's how we actually think, and I guess what's so fascinating, at least to me, about mind mapping is that it's not how we tend actually to structure our information. We
Mm-mm.
want to make like a list, right? We don't
Right.
want like this little, a bunch of balloons on a page that doesn't compute. I also love that you ultimately the lesson you found was to love life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's the purpose of life. Is
Yeah,
true to love every second we blessed to have of it. But I
yeah,
think a lot of people struggle with love and life. For one, is because they don't get clear on who they are and what they
yeah.
want to be, do, and have in life. So
Right,
they're
right.
bouncing around life without necessarily having intention on, this is who I am, this is how I want to live my life. and hopefully with my mission and my message that I can help people get in alignment with who they want to be so they can do what they want and have what they want to love life.
Right, right. I think you brought up the big perennial question. Why don't we know who we are? Why don't we have an idea of our identity, what we want? Why don't
I,
we?
I think, that's great question that I've been grappling with for a long time now, over a
Right.
decade. And here's how I view it. And as humans, when we're being raised from kids, we're looking to learn from those who influence us, whether it's our parents or grandparents or whoever that is that's directly influencing us while we're toddlers to youth. And
Right.
we're learning from people not just how to speak the language of English, but what right and wrong is. And we're looking at how other people respond to certain circumstances and situations, and we're making beliefs and judgments about that on this. I guess when I'm in that same kind of situation, I should respond the same way, or my dad or mom liked eating this kind of food. So, I'm going to like eating this kind of food. That's
Right.
all my mom ever made, kind of deal. So it seems like a lot of our identities are, are things that we've kind of inherited and accumulated over, our early part of our life, and science is showing that, most of us are sponges and making these hardcore decisions about who we are and what the world means before we're like 8 or 9 years old or something like
Yeah.
that.
Seven to nine or so. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's where it's like, I think, where a lot of our identity is being shaped and formed. Unfortunately, many of us get older and start to behave in certain ways as adults based on those decisions we made at 7, 6,
Right.
and 5 about what the life
Right.
means. And we never consciously decided, wait a minute, just because my parents did that, that doesn't vibe with me,
Right.
and kind of deal. But what do I want? And a lot of people I find never really consciously take the time to be like, wait a minute, who am I? Not the titles that I hold, not the jobs that I have, but who am I at my core as it relates to
Yeah.
health, wealth, success, and happiness. And that's why I think a lot of people, they work so hard to fulfill reach a certain goal, only to find out it wasn't fulfilling or satisfying, is because
Right.
that goal that they thought they wanted wasn't really in alignment with their core of who they want to be. So
Right. Right.
I'm hopeful that I can help with impact people, to give them a tool to consciously be like, well, this is who I am, so they can start making better decisions, that more in alignment with who they want to be, versus just making decisions
Right.
based on not
Right.
knowing who they are and where they're going.
Yeah. I want to. How do I want to say this? The phrase you just used was who they want to be, and
Mhm.
I when sorry, I'm trying to formulate this on the fly. You
No
brought
worries.
up the 7 habits of highly successful people, and the whole Stephen Covey, the Franklin Covey planner, which had a whole process with it to say you fulfill these roles, primarily social roles, is what we ended up, what the examples all have are social roles.
Right.
But I suspect those end up being the roles that we want to be, or the roles that we have assumed whether we wanted it or not. Like if you end up having kids, like you're a parent, no matter whether you wanted it or not.
Right.
But I think there's a distinction between who we want to be and really who we know we are. And
Right.
so, and I'm going to add one little tidbit on this before I shut up. You also said that we make decisions, 5 through 7, whatever. We have a range of ages,
Mhm.
make decisions. And I'm curious if those are more, it's like how, was it Sir Francis Bacon, I think, who said, nature abhors a vacuum. And we soak up our social environment
Hmm.
and then fail to challenge it later on.
Right.
So I think it's where I was going to go, is to say that I feel like a lot of what we do is go in a direction that we think we want, not the direction that we know we should. So go ahead. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, and I think that's just the power of that social influence that we have,
Oh yeah,
as creatures of habit, as habitual beings, as conditioned beings. When we start doing certain things and we keep doing it over and over again, we eventually form a habit, whether good or bad,
yeah.
that many of us don't know how to break or adjust. Reminds me of a story of Warren Buffett. They said
Okay.
Warren Buffett was holding a big one of his Berkshire conferences or whatever, and during the
Yeah.
Q&A session, said a little 13-year-old girl came up to the microphone and asked him a question, and he said, "Sir, what can you tell me today that will ensure that I'll have success when I get to be your age?" And they
Wow.
said Warren Buffett's like, wow, that's a profound question from a 13-year-old. Wow. He thought about it and he said, well, young lady, here's my answer. Choose your friends wisely. Choose your friends wisely. And he meant that because most of us will adapt and start to become like the people we socialize with.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
and and that is something that, I try to stress to my kids. And what I'm hoping that, and it's so just a I have my kids working this I am mind map, and just a couple days ago, she was
Neat.
last couple weeks she was talking about this boy that she was liking and had a little crush on, and she hasn't brought his name up in a couple days. So I asked her, I say, so whatever happened to that boy you were talking about? She said, Dad, he does not fit on my I am mind map. And it was
No
like,
way.
yeah, it was like, wow, yes. And that's
Yeah.
things that the I am mind map does, is that when you get really clear on truly the depth of who you are as it relates to your spiritual health, mental health, physical health, when you want wealth of positive emotions, what true emotions do
Yeah.
you want to experience in your life? And all of these kind of things that the I am mind map really helps people clarify in a map form. It gives people empowerment and inspiration, that this is who I am. These are really the key components of my life. And at the same time, it gives people the strength for boundaries. I'm no longer,
Yeah.
I don't do this anymore, or I'm not going to allow this to happen in me because it's not in alignment with who I'm declaring myself to be, to love my life.
Yeah.
Essentially, that was just a
Yeah.
good. I was like, after my daughter got out the car, I was like, yes, yes.
I bet.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. That was super
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I have one more follow up question because I'd love to talk about the process of Mappineering, the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
I am. Before I do, though, I'm curious, like, we've talked about some social blocks. It's interesting. Now we're experiencing political blocks. I mean, I don't know if that's new. I don't know if I
Yep,
should
yep.
say now, but,
Right,
but the political blocks to expressing identity they're getting, it's
right.
getting more and more prevalent.
Yeah,
But I also would think, we want to call out, entrenched discrimination across the board.
absolutely.
We end up taking on other people's expectations based on their discrimination, whether it's your parent or where you go to work. So
Hmm.
these these can be really significant blocks
Yeah,
to even to understanding who we are. Thoughts on that? I mean, I want to call it out, but do you have points you want to make
yeah.
on that?
It's so sad that you can throw racism in there, with all of that
Yes.
stuff, and it's just shameful that let me say this. One of my mentors said it to me this way. He said, John, I think we was in a restaurant. He said, do you realize that no two people on the planet has ever had the same perception of reality. He said
Right.
Siamese twins, conjoined twins, whatever. They all had different perceptions of reality. He even went as far as to knock a glass over in the restaurant. He said, I'm going to knock this glass over, and I bet you it's going to mean something different to everyone in this restaurant, what I just
Oh,
did. And I was like, he
yeah.
said, do you understand that? And I was like, yeah, I can see that. He was like, well, how many people on the planet? And I was like, 7 billion, I think. And it was so amazing because he like rattled off to the last,
Oh my
7.8,
gosh.
4, 5, 6. He's that kind of guy. And he
Sure.
said, do you realize that there's almost 8 billion different perceptions of what reality is? And I was
Yes.
like, well, yeah, I see that. He said, so with that being true, how can anyone have the audacity to argue that their one perception is the right one? And I was like, that was a game changer for me to realize that
Yeah.
wait a minute, you know, anytime ever since then, this was about 20 years ago, anytime that I find myself in an argument with someone or in town of tension, I can always pause and be like, you know what? You can be right. It is possible. You could be right.
Mm-hmm.
I could see this later, see a different distinction later, learn something new later that can shift my perception. So I need to always reserve that option that you could be right. Also, from the standpoint of respecting another person's perception of what reality is and how they choose to experience their life. That is your
Mm-hmm.
God given right to live your life how you want to live your life, especially as long as you're not hurting other people or disrespecting other people or
Right.
imposing your perception on other people. Man, if you choose to live your life however you want to live your life, and it is bringing you peace, happiness, and joy while we're on this life for a brief moment that we're on,
Yeah.
have at it, brother. Have at it. I love you for it. God bless you. But I
Yep.
have problems with people, especially politicians and powers that be. Some religious folks fall into this, that
Mm-hmm.
if you don't think like me, you're evil, you're wrong, you're doomed, you're cursed, you're
Yep.
going to hell. And how can you say that? You know, because I'm choosing to live my life, the way I want to live my life. As long as I'm not
Right.
hurting you or affecting you, you should wish me luck. You know, and I totally,
Agreed.
that frustrates me a lot when I see, especially people in power that are making decisions based on their belief that they're right and everybody else is wrong. That
Right. Right.
that drives me nuts.
Right. It's looking to restrict identity. You've got 8 billion different perspectives, and they go, well, we want to narrow that down a bit. Like, say, 7 orders of magnitude. But we can.
I don't get
Well, actually, wait a minute. How many orders of magnitude are in a billion? Was that 9? Who knows?
it.
I
Yeah,
don't care.
right,
This isn't a math show, right? This is philosophy.
right, right.
But
That
yeah,
drives me.
I agree. Yeah, it's a beautiful
Right.
insight. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
welcome. Yeah, thanks for the question.
Oh yeah. I'd love to talk about the process. How do you can you walk us through a little bit, you don't have to tell everything because obviously there's a book. You want to be able to sell some of
No,
this.
no, no, yeah,
Can you
I would
walk
love
through
to.
the outline? Yeah.
Yeah, well, let me start with just the distinction of the difference between mind mapping and mappineering.
Yes. Okay.
Tony Buzan, as we talked about, he developed, back in the 60s and 70s. He was a British educator, studied the notes of Leonardo da Vinci, all of the top people back in those days. He was thinking about what were they doing to be so intelligent? How were their notes? And that's when he found all these diagrams and keywords and invented mind mapping. He went on
Yeah.
in the 70s and 80s and 90s to share this mind mapping primarily in Europe, where he was from. He recently died in 2018. God rest his
I didn't know that.
soul. It
Yeah.
didn't really come to our country um, very big, so it's relatively unknown in the United States. Those who have heard of mind mapping primarily use it for 3 ways, and that's in brainstorming activities, project management activities, and note-taking activities. Pretty much all Fortune 500 companies are using some sort of mind mapping to project management and brainstorm. Most of all Ivy League schools now are promoting mind mapping for note taking because, like we had mentioned before,
Really?
that we've learned that note take, we do the bullet point line stuff, but they're finding that when students are actually note taking in the mind map form, they're getting greater test scores because it's easier for
Huh.
them to close their eyes and visualize the information on the map versus it is on
Yeah.
which bullet point line it was. They're finding that it's better for them to put keywords and short phrases on a map for note taking versus scribbling gibberish stuff that they probably can't read anyway because they're so fast trying to write every word. So those are three primarily things for mind mapping. For the last 15 years or so, I found that I'm the only one that's using mind maps for personal development,
Okay.
strictly for personal development, for identity, problem solving, decision making, things of that nature. So I kind of wanted to create a distinction between the mind map style versus how to use it for personal development, which is where Mappineering came from.
Gotcha.
Engineering, it basically stands for engineering beautiful mind maps to love life more, is the
Oh
tagline for
gosh.
Mappineering. And when I started developing Mappineering, I came up with a couple key. The first one I did was the I am mind map, which I'll talk in a second. But the big one that I think that would be very useful for your audience and yourself is what I call the 5 W's and H mind map.
Okay.
Great for decision making, awesome for problem solving, and just how it looks is, say you take a piece of paper and put it in like a landscape form, and in the middle you can title whatever you want to title your problem. You know, um, you know, problem with dad or whatever.
Sure.
Just set it in the middle. Then around there you want to put who, what, when, where, why, and how, and all of them connect to the central main topic of the problem. Now you want to spend time brainstorming all of the possible who questions that you can ask yourself about that problem. Who's involved? Who should be involved? Who shouldn't be involved? Who do I need to be to resolve this problem? Who can I contact that can give me support in this problem? So all of the who
Yeah.
questions you put in that section of your mind map. Then you go down to what? What is actually happening? What is going on with this problem? What should be happening? What could be happening? Once you go through all of the what questions, then you go through all of the where. Then you go through all of the when questions. Then you go to the why. Then you go to the how questions. And once you kind of go through this exercises, which is what I coach and teach my students and my clients to go through when they're having these problems. Once you go through that and now you look at your mind map and kind of push it away from you, always, yes, always, Ami, the solution to your problem always reveals itself
Huh.
because now you see it, all of the components of your problem from this greater perspective than you ever had before. So now you see
Right.
in this problem in such a way that you couldn't see when it's stuck in here. So
Yeah.
now you're able to visually structure all of the components of your problem to know what your next best step is or the best decision you need to do to resolve it. And it's been astonishing when I'm working with my clients when they come to me with these problems. I have them break open. Come on, you know what we're going to do? Let's do the 5 W's and H mind map. And I walk them through and ask them some very thought provoking questions about each one of those. But in that process, it's almost like all of the angst and emotional tension that they had is gone
Yeah.
because the problem is no longer in here. Now it's out there. So
Right.
now since it's out there and they're looking at it as a third person perspective, now it opens them up to see possible solutions that they would have never saw when it was just swirling in their minds. So
Right. Right.
that's the 5 W's and H mind map that, again, you can use for problems, decision making. You put the decision in the middle, who, what, where, when, why, how, and
Yeah.
go through all of that process. And you know what your best decision is. And you be able to make decisions with that confidence and certainty that you are making an informed decision because now you actually see that decision from greater perspectives that you never would have otherwise. Those are like, that is the one that I really highly recommend your audience to really embrace and explore and try when it comes to any problem you're dealing with, any decision you need to make. Just remember the 5 W's, 1 H mind map. I guarantee it will give you more clarity and empower you like no other tool that you ever used before. Those are the ones that I really promote the most.
Yeah.
Now, out of all of the mind maps you can make, I mean, there you can literally make a mind map for anything and everything that you're thinking about. Literally
Sure.
anything you have to think about, you can map it out. There is none more important, I believe, than what I call your I am mind map. Because again, it goes to who you are and who you are as a person, what your identity is. And once you get clear with this, and I always start with my clients with the I am mind map first, because this I am mind map will be the foundation for the decisions you need to make or how you're going to handle your problems. Because if you don't know who you are, it's hard to make really informed decisions or really address things in your life, because you don't really have that foundational piece of who you are, that clarity of who you are.
Right.
So I always
Right.
start with my clients there. And that mind map basically is just starting with I am in the center, very similar to here. Then
Yeah.
instead of like who, what, where, and why, you put health, wealth, success, and happiness. Then again, through my books and my online courses and coaching and speaking from the stage, all of the stuff I've been doing lately, I walk people through, what does really health mean to you as it relates to your spiritual health, your physical health, your mental health, and they're just putting keywords and short phrases on their mind maps.
Mm-hmm.
Then I go through the wealth section. When you want an abundance of something in your life, positive emotions, what are the positive emotions you want an abundance of? Is it love? Is it enthusiasm, optimism, joy? What are those emotions? Then in the wealth of skills, specialized knowledge, what do you want to be an expert in? Then talk about freedom. Then I move to success, the successful part of the I am mind map, successful relationships, results, and rewards. What are some of the key components in those that you need, that mean a lot to you, or that you cherish, or that you need to work on? Same with happiness. Do the same thing with happiness. I broke happiness down to being blessed for your past, grateful for your future, and feeling fulfilled in the present moment right now. I believe that if we can be blessed from our past, not looking at our past with guilt and regret, but really
Yeah.
appreciative of those past experiences, the goods and bads, because you survived the bad ones and you learned and grown. So look at them and being blessed for those experiences, and also being
Mm-hmm.
grateful for your future. If you can do both of those things in the moment, present now, you will be happy. You would be happy and loving your life. So I walk people through this I am mind map, and it's so empowering to so many people because, like we had mentioned before, most people never really consciously looked at, analyzed, or made choices about who are they, you know?
Right.
And for them to see now all of these key components about who they're declaring themselves to be, man, I've seen some major transformations in people. Like, wait a minute, I see my life and what's most important in my life in a way I've never have. So I now realize that this job doesn't work for me. This relationship is not working for me. Like my daughter said, this
Yeah.
relationship doesn't fit my I am mind map. I need to find somebody who has more in common with my mind map,
Right.
than versus going through life not knowing what your core is, and you find yourself repeating a bunch of unwanted experiences, whether it's a job or relationship. So that's in essence the I am process and I am mind map.
Yeah. I gotta say, I appreciate that we have the tendency, at least in Western society, to assume that wealth and success are what make happiness. So I appreciate that you've broken those out. That's like these are three different topics. Wealth is not success, and success is not happiness. I appreciate that. That's really that's a good. I like that.
My dad told me when I was young. He said, "Son, there are people driving their Mercedes Benz off the cliff. So just because you got money doesn't mean that you're going to be happy." You know.
That's a very good way of putting that. So I have two places I want to follow up. The one I think is going to be a little short, so I'll go with that first. Because you had mentioned when you do the 5 W's and an H, I didn't say that as eloquently as you. I like yours, 5 W's and 1 H. I like that better. But when you do that kind of a mind map, and you can see the problem holistically, because that's really what you're trying to do, you see the problem differently. So what I find fascinating is that we're trying to do two different things at once. When we have a problem, we want to see the whole thing, everything we know about it all in one spot. But like Simon Sinek, I'm sure you're familiar with him, with his start with why. I mean, like I got a why statement right there on the wall, and the idea is to boil it down to the smallest, most concise drop that you go, look, this has no detail whatsoever in it, but it's who you are. So it's fascinating to me that the two ways of looking at a problem or looking at who we are, at our actions. It's interesting to me that we either go for, we want like 2 words, or we want a mind map that's big and huge. I don't know if I had anything else to bring out of that. Just it was fascinating to see. But
it's big because a lot of us are find pressure or find responsibilities that cause us to have to make decisions or to have to be a certain way or have to do certain things just because of just life, circumstances and things of that nature. Right. And to not have easy tools or tangible tools that can help you sort through that stuff, that life brings you, curveballs that life brings you, death, divorce, all of the stuff that, life brings us, to not have a tangible tool or a process you can go through to help you, gain the best perspective for who you are intending to be with your life, man, creates, I think, stress, creates drug abuse, creates a lot of mental health issues, creates a lot of that because we're trying to process it in here, and it starts to swirl and twist and turn and creates all of these uncertainty and lack of confidence and fear because we don't know, what the unknown is going to bring us, or this new identity now that you have to evolve into because you don't have a spouse anymore or whatever that may be. That I can see why, some of the negative circumstances that people are dealing with drugs and alcohol and abuse, physical, emotional, and all of that stuff, mental stuff that happens, in our society because we just don't really have good tools and support system that can help us sort these things out.
Yes. This actually leads directly into my second question. So it was a great segue.
Yeah, no, good.
Thank you.
Good.
Because I think when we talk about, especially if you're looking at drug abuse, alcohol abuse, whatever it might be, the desire to oppress other people, whatever it might be, I think it's largely because we're not being truthful with ourselves.
Right.
And so I think when you, yes, right. But the thing is, I'm going to give an example because this may be the easier way to ask my question. In particular, in the LGBTQ community, and I don't know how much you've worked with a community, but we grow up believing we're wrong. We're broken in some way. We're wrong. This is what we're taught, and these are social values. We can reject them. We can learn to reject them. But if I talk about the transgender experience in particular,
Hmm.
we know who we are. We do know it,
Right.
but we're not going to say it out loud.
Hmm.
Are we going to put it on a mind map?
I would
And
say
it doesn't
yes.
have to be transgender. Sorry, it could be anything. I mean, like those
Yeah,
things that we don't
yeah.
want the rest of the world to know. We will? You think so?
But I think you should put it on the mind map and explore where that mind map takes you,
I see.
because that clarity that mind map can give you about the, what you're thinking about can be empowering, can be uplifting, can be,
Yes.
it can embolden you to realize, wait a minute, I'm very clear, about my relationship with my higher power that has put these thoughts and feelings within me.
Yeah.
And that's most important to me, is to feel good with the connection that I have with my higher power. And
Yeah.
I can actually map that relationship out in such a way that, I just don't really give a damn what people think. Because
Right.
I'm connected to who I am, and my God supports me. So who are you? I don't care what you think. You know what I mean? Because I have so much
Right.
clarity now, and on who I am and my purpose and what my life is to be about, is why I would suggest, yes, mind map that out, because just visually seeing whatever it is you're thinking about could lead you down some rabbit holes that will give you such power and strength to really embrace your uniqueness, to really
Yeah.
embrace your gift to the world in such a way that you may not have, with it being swirling in your head with all of this
Right.
stuff society is trying to tell you to do,
Right.
or lean
Right.
in, and you're not fitting in with that, hogwash. All you need to do is go inside yourself. And if your God has given you good feelings about the decisions that you're making on how you choose to live your life, I mean, I think there's nothing more important. Now, if you're going inside of your life and going inside of yourself and doing something that you feel bad about, then maybe that's God telling you that he doesn't approve of you doing that. And in most cases, God only makes you feel bad when you're doing something bad to someone else,
Right.
or you're doing something, or something like that. But if you are in yourself and it resonates with you, and you're like, wait a minute, this feels good, this feels natural about who I am, please, embrace that. Embrace that.
Go and do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to circle back because I keep saying I have said a few times you know who you are, and part of
Mhm.
what you've been saying it is not exactly the opposite. When I say we know who we are, I believe we know who we are, or we're the only ones capable of describing what it is we know and what it is we believe.
Mhm.
And our real struggle is to get it out.
Mhm.
And so I think that's what the I am process ends up
Right.
doing for you.
Absolutely.
We Go ahead.
Absolutely. Because I was just going to say that most of us know who we are on a surface level. Most of us know who we are based on our name, based on our, I'm the
Right.
father of this, I'm the husband. But most people identify themselves based on what they do. Yes, I'm an NFL football player. That's who I am. But no, 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 no. And the I am mind map calls you to really go inside of your core, to really get clear on who you are to the depth of your soul. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and once you get in alignment with that, life seems to always works better. Better because you're not that surface. Yeah, my name is John Diggs. No, yeah,
That's it. Right.
no.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah.
I had a mentor, just the last one, the same mentor that told me about that perspective thing. And by the way, his name is Dr. Ron Holman. I love him dearly. He's made a huge impact. He was actually the owner of the largest privately owned mental health insurance company in the
Oh,
country back
wow.
then. Yeah, where a lot of these big companies, Edison and Pac Bell, would call him and his company to come in and deal with issues of management, drug addictions, and all
Wow.
that kind of stuff. But the very first day I met this guy, I was sitting in his office and he asked me one question for a good 10, 15 minutes, only one question. And it drove me nuts, but it was so impactful. And that question was, who are you?
Yeah.
And I would say, John Diggs. Is that all? No. Well, who are you? Well, I'm the son of Betty and John Diggs. Is that all? No. Then who are you? I mean,
Oh
we
gosh.
do this for like 10 minutes to get me to realize that I was so much more than I was identifying myself to be.
Yeah.
And how I was actually, if somebody asks people, they normally go to those first maybe couple of levels of those questions. Yeah, I'm this, I'm that. But he got me
Right.
to really dig deeper into. I think by the end, I was like, yeah, I'm a spiritual being, son of God. It really took me deeper into
Wow.
the process of who I am, which I
Yeah.
encourage everybody to do at least once in your lifetime. Just really go deep in who you are, because it's
Right.
illuminating, it's liberating. It's just an awesome experience to just connect to, like, wait a minute, this is really who I am, in this world. And it has nothing to do with society. It has nothing to do with all of that conditioning that I got and those influences in my previous life. No, this is who I am today. And it's really super cool because you can always change it. You can always change who
Oh,
you.
I was gonna ask the question. I was gonna right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does this change? How often do you do the IM map? Do you do it like once a year,
No, I'm
quarterly?
daily. I'm daily. Yeah, I'm a daily guy on
Wow.
it. Yeah, I have daily
Oh gosh.
questions. Yeah, I have
Okay.
I've evolved my system to where I look at it every day, and there's certain questions that I asked around my spiritual health. Who am I being? Who am I
Yeah.
being as it relates to my spiritual health? What can I do to improve my wealth of positive emotions today? So these are just questions that I run through myself, and what I teach my students. There's three levels to my IM process. By the way, I have the first level where I just basically walk people through building the baseline template of their IM mind map, and
Sure.
ask them questions just to get things out of their mind and onto their map. That's the first level. Then the second level, we take them into actually starting to prioritize everything they
Oh.
put on their map. One
Yeah.
to 10, what are some of these that really resonate with you? And also in that second phase, after we prioritize them, then we start developing some action steps they can take every day to start manifesting those things in their
Yeah.
life.
Wow.
Then the third level of the IM process is where we take their IM mind map, now that it's really kind of clean and broken down to really the resonating things. Everything on that map resonates with them. Then we transpose that mind map into audio recording where they record themselves. So during their visualization and imagination and meditation practices, they can actually hear themselves talking to themselves about their I am mind map. I am healthy,
Yeah.
I am wealthy, I'm successful, I'm happy. And I get my students to do that every day, to now start to embody their I am mind map, which
Yeah.
it's been a very powerful experience for a lot of people.
I would imagine. And this is how Mappineering is a practice as opposed to like an isolated technique.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's a
That's really cool.
daily practice for me. And I really try to promote people to just look at it every day to remind yourself, hey, this is who I am. This is who I'm going to be today. Regardless of what happens, somebody cuts me off, somebody flips me off, somebody does something crazy to me. I'm going to remember that despite all of that, this is who I am intending to be today on my
Right.
I am mind map, which is why I reference mine every day, and I encourage all of my students and clients to reference it every
Yeah.
day. Just as a reminder, who are you going to be today? Kind of deal.
Yeah. That's super cool. I will one of the things this is going to be a dumb question. So
No.
bear with me a little bit. One of the things that has always held me back, and this is me, okay, and it was like a couple of years ago, so maybe it's different now. But
Hmm.
one of the things that always held me back was that if I'm going to make a mind map, I don't like scratching. I know I'm using my right hand because I'm left-handed, but I don't like scratching things out. What if I run out of room? Do I need a bigger piece of paper? Are there tools that you recommend, or is part of the process, yeah, it's going to be imperfect, be imperfect? There you
Yeah,
go.
great question. The thing is to realize is that mind maps are not meant to be static. They're always meant to be dynamic. They're always meant to
Okay.
evolve. They're always meant to grow, for one. So if you got to cross out and all of that stuff, that is a par for the course, because as you grow
Okay.
and evolve, your mind map should grow and evolve with you, essentially,
Yeah.
for one. Secondly, what makes mind mapping really powerful is that you can just grab a napkin and a piece of paper to do it. That's fine. That's
Yeah.
the old school way of doing it. Now they have online platforms. I
Yes.
recommend mindmeister.com.
Okay.
Mindmeister.com. In all full disclosure, I am a partner with them for the last 6 years.
Okay.
They're a company based out of Vienna, Austria. Reason I like them because in their online platform, you can make edits quickly. You can make adjustments quickly to it, so it can easily evolve with you. I make a lot of mind maps where I'm just brainstorming certain things, and inside
Right.
of their platforms, you can actually put YouTube links on your mind
Oh,
map. You can put documents on your mind maps. You can put notes on your mind maps. You can do a lot of things on these mind maps. So a lot of times I may sit there and come up with an idea, and I'll open up with my mind map on mindmeister.com, and I'll just start building a mind map out, and I'll start maybe Googling a bunch of stuff and finding a bunch of links of articles that I may not want to spend time reading now because I don't want to kill my brainstorming session. So I'll just
right.
put that link on my mind map and be like, all right, when I'm ready to, I know where all of these links are that I can reference later. So that's
Yeah.
mindmeister.com. And if anybody uh, wants to use MindMeister, which again, there's a lot of platforms out there, but my estimation is that MindMeister is one of the leaders because of all of its functionalities, which is why I partner with them. But for anyone that wants to use MindMeister, you can use the discount code DIGIT, which is DIGGIT. You get a discount for it. And that's just my partnership link. That's DIGGIT. You get like 20% off. Their
Oh,
membership
dang.
for unlimited mind maps are like only $7 a month or something
Well,
like
no,
that.
not too shabby. Yeah.
No, it's just $7 a month, and you can build as many mind maps as you want. The reason I like if you could use those codes, because I'm one of their top partners in North
Right.
America, and they always reach out to me when they're beta testing new enhancements to the software, and I like to
Oh,
keep that.
cool.
Yeah, so I'm always on the cutting edge. But
Yeah.
MindMeister is great, and if you or any of your listeners want to learn more about it, I mean, I'd be more than happy to come back and share all of how to use that. I do have some videos and stuff
Yeah.
available inside of my community and things of that nature, just to help people understand how to use that software really quick to get their brainstorming session out of here, and so they can visually see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I had, there was another tool I was using, and I forget. Iowa? Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, yeah,
AYOA? Is that?
yeah. They have a
Yeah.
mind mapping software too. Yeah,
Yeah. Are they
I
still
don't know.
around? I don't.
I think they are all around, but I don't know if they are online yet. So you would have to be by a computer and actually use their app, like Microsoft Word or something like that. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
I know I started with one that was an installed application, and then I think they moved to it being online. So
It could
in
be.
in
Yeah,
any event,
they should be by
yeah,
now. But I mean, in 2025, they better be by now. They're getting left behind for sure.
figure so. Yeah. So cool, because I mean, I there are other things. Lucid Chart comes up, and oh, what's the Microsoft? Oh, Visio. Oh, you can get a mind map thing in Visio. It's like, well, that is sort of.
Yeah,
So
all of them
I
are
will check
great.
out MindMeister.
Yeah, all of them are great. It just depends your intention and your commitment to use
Yeah.
it. Really
Right. Right.
is the thing. And I would recommend, regardless of whatever one you choose to use, just get in the habit of just going to it and just start trying to adopt
Yeah.
it in your daily practice, and you will find some breakthroughs. I'm guaranteed. Just the structure of a mind map to visually see what you're contemplating every day is very powerful in and of
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah. It becomes well, I don't want to make this as a statement. Has it become like as powerful as writing in a journal? Like, think about like the Julia Cameron stuff. 3 pages, a set of 3 pages in the morning, sort of thing. So that was the question.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And I just had a workshop with some high school students, and I brought that up to them about what another one of my mentors told me. He said, "John, do you realize our brains are meant for processing, not data storage?" And very
Yeah.
much like computers, when we have too much information on our hard drives, it the processing slows. There's latency with processing, and it's very
Yeah.
similar to our brains. Which is another benefit for mind mapping, like journaling. But the point of the matter is you're absolutely right in that I think there's a lot to be said for journaling and mind mapping kind of deal, just to get information out of your brain and
Yeah.
into the cloud, if you will, or getting it out of your mind so you can not experience latency in your thinking process. I think as the
Yeah.
older we get, it's harder to think about certain things because we're probably having to process through a bunch of old files and stuff in our memory that
Right.
journaling and mind mapping can help kind of put in the cloud to keep our brains processing optimally.
Yeah. I mean, other people are getting old. We're not. But
Yeah, yeah,
other
right.
people are getting
I'm trying to reverse it myself.
old. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so tell me, John, how do we find you on the internet? How do we find all of this great work that you've been doing?
Well, johndiggs.com,
Okay.
johndiggs.com, /IM for specific IM information. On there, you'll find some free
Okay.
downloadables, links to books, mini courses, coaches, even one-on-one sessions that I offer, free one-on-one sessions for people,
Cool.
just to see. But I'm on all social media platforms: LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. On YouTube, you can also find my TEDx talk
Okay.
on YouTube. If you just put John Diggs TEDx talk, you'll actually see more information about my transition from homelessness to discovering mind mapping, to what mind mapping has done for me in creating my I am mind map. So that YouTube, TEDx talk on YouTube will give some people a lot more clarity on my story than what I was able to do on our session here. But if
Yeah.
anybody has any questions or need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can reference this podcast, and I promise to give you some special attention and love because this is my passion. This is my life purpose now. I
Yeah.
realized that I'm so in alignment with my higher power by way of my I am mind map and other work that I've been doing that there's no doubt about it in my mind. I've been put on this earth to share this message, this Mappineering message, this I am message with folks. So I wake up every morning excited to share it. And so if any one of your listeners has any questions or need any support, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I promise to do everything I can to be who you need me to be to help you love and live your best life. I promise you that.
Oh my gosh. I can tell this is your passion. It's amazing. It's infectious, is what it is.
Thank you. Thank you for noticing that. And thank you for having
Of
me. You're,
course.
you are awesome. You are a
Oh, thank
dynamic
you.
person. I love your energy. I love what you're doing. And I'm here for you, as well. If you need me for anything, support on
Yeah.
project or just a voice, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Like
All
I said,
right.
I'm here for you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I mean, I will say, we do similar. I think you and I do sort of similar work. The point is for us to understand who we are,
Mhm.
because I'm forgetting exactly how you put it, but you said when we know who we are, we have guideposts. Like we go, okay, well now I have a direction. When you
Yeah,
don't know who you are, you're kind of like, I don't know what to do today.
right.
Do I like
Yeah,
this job? You know,
right. You're
should I
bouncing
be in
around
this
life
relationship? Yeah.
versus
So,
intentionally living a purposeful life. Is the only way that
yeah.
I think that people really truly find satisfaction and really love life is when they're
Yes.
living it with an intention and some kind of purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I stand with you wholeheartedly. So, shoot, there is so much more I want to ask you. I even had other questions, but it's like, we're an hour in. I'll go
I can
ahead and
come
let you
back.
go, but I know
I
that's a thought.
yeah.
Give,
I
give me a
like I said,
few months,
I'm
so we'll
here for
talk
you.
again. But
I'm here for
yeah,
you. If there's some things that come up and don't hesitate. John, let's come back. I got some more questions to ask you, and trust that I'll
definitely.
be right here for you. I believe in you. I trust you. I support you, and I love you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Oh,
much for
thank
being who you
you.
are. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'll go ahead and shut it down. Let me say thanks. I mean, first of all, John, thank you. I mean, great
Thank
work, good conversation. I'm so happy that we had the opportunity to meet. So thank you. I definitely highly
you.
respect everything here.
We're friends for life.
We are. I know. You're going to be on my mind map now. So, right?
Nice.
And then I guess I will say thank you to our listeners. You've been listening to Amethyst to Herrick and John Diggs here on Gender Identity Weekly, where we've talked about mind maps, finding our purpose in life, and the big thing, making sure that you love your life. I love
Yes.
that.
Yes, indeed.
So thank you again, John.
Thank you for having me.